So till now we developed two things, the demand and supply, which are two driving forces in a market. And as you can see in this diagram, this cartoon, they're basically working against each other. How? As price increases, sellers want to sell more, but at the same time as price increases, buyers wants to buy less. So there's an inherent fighting between the demand and supply. That means sellers and the buyers. And that leads us to a very important concept called the market equilibrium. So often you hear the term equilibrium in the market. What does this mean? What does market equilibrium signify? So let's try to understand it. So equilibrium refers to a situation in which the price has reached a level where quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. That means price is at a level where nobody wants to buy anything extra, nobody wants to sell anything extra. That means it's kind of a stable point, and that's called equilibrium. It will be clearer. Let's try to do an example. Again, let's do the same ice cream example, what we've been doing. And we are trying to find the equilibrium price in the ice cream and equilibrium quantity. So our aim is to find equilibrium price and quantity in the market. So we have ice cream seller who was willing to sell so many different ice creams at different price points. So this is the seller's supply schedule, and we have a demand, which is again, as price increases, per person wants to buy less. So we're going to find what the equilibrium is, and you'll be not be surprised that at $2 there's a quantity demanded is same as quantity supplied. And you can see at $2 the person wants to buy 7 ice creams. At $2 the seller wants to sell 7 ice creams. So that's a nice situation. So this is called equilibrium in this market. In other markets, equilibrium can happen at different price points. So let's try this in a graphical format. So this is our supply, this is our demand. Wherever demand and supply meets, that's your equilibrium. And you can see $2 at $2 price, equilibrium is 7. That means demand is 7, so is supply. So quantity demanded at equilibrium is 7, quantity supplied is 7 as well. So it's a nice scenario. However, in reality, market may not be in equilibrium all the time. So let's try to understand this scenario. So we'll be studying the markets which are not in equilibrium, which means if the prices are set above the equilibrium price, or if prices are set below the equilibrium price. And you can see here in this left diagram where the equilibrium price is $2 and the equilibrium quantity is 7, because this is the point where demand is equal to supply. But for some reason equilibrium price is set at $2.50. At $2.50, quantity demanded is only 4 because price is too high, but the sellers want to sell 10 units. So what we are ending up is a situation of excess supply or surplus. So this is the surplus, or which is also called excess supply. And the reason excess supply is happening is simply because price is set above the equilibrium price. That means price is set above the equilibrium price. The polar opposite case is when the prices are set below the equilibrium price. In this is the case of excess demand, where your again equilibrium is $2 price and corresponding quantity is 7. This is the equilibrium, but for some reason price is set at $1.50. Now price is too low. If price is too low, you can imagine that there are a lot of people who wants to buy the product. So corresponding demand is here, which is 10, but sellers don't want to sell at $1.50. So only 4 sellers want to sell. What we have in this case is a shortage. So whenever you have shortage, that means shortage implies price is set below the equilibrium price. As a result, number of people who wants to have the product is much more than the number of people who are willing to sell it. Now next we'll do a couple of more definitions. So let's first try to define market demand. Market demand is the sum of individual demand, and also the market supply is the sum of individual supply. Now obviously in the market there's not only one ice cream seller, there can be thousands of ice cream sellers, and if you just add up the supply of all those thousands of ice cream sellers, that's the market supply. Similarly, market demand, there's not only one buyer of ice cream, there are thousands of buyers of ice cream, and if you combine all of them together, then it's a market demand.